All right, Steeler fans, time for the mailbag segment. Every single Wednesday, I dive into your questions. And if you don't know how to get your question answered, here's how. Find me on Twitter or X at jhartman, HARTMAN_PIT. I put out the tweet every single Tuesday. You respond, and I answer it on the air. Let's get this started. Jeff Coons, he said, greetings from Not Mad Canada. Huge matchup this Sunday. Such is life in the AFC North. We do not see comfort. Here's the question. Are we in for a traditional low-scoring defensive matchup or a high-scoring shootout? That's a great question. And when you look at, you listen to all the stats that I just laid out there, this is a weird one because the Steelers have the superior defense. The Ravens have the superior offense. Which will stand tall? I think this is going to be not as high-scoring as some people would think, and we'll talk about this on Friday with predictions, but I think it's going to be more high scoring than what we're accustomed to seeing from Baltimore Steelers games. Put it that way. Believers, the Ride or Die Crew poll of the week. Tomlin has been a polarizing coach through his tenure. Grade his job this year. A, B, C, or D. I gave it an A. Where could you find fault in what he has done? He's pulled all the right punches so far. I give him an A. All right, let's go to Michael W. I think it's Noss. Said earlier in the season, many people said coach was going to have quote unquote packages for Justin Fields, hoping Russ is healthy for the rest of the season. But will my guy ever see the field again this year? It's a great question. And it's one of those situations where when you look at what they're saying and what they're doing, they're polar opposites. You've got Mike Tomlin saying, yes, there's definitely going to be packages for him. And then what are they doing? Well, they're not putting him out there on the field. I do think that they are having these packages ready, but I don't think they're putting them out there right away. And I have to say this too. I do think the Steelers are very cognizant of snap counts. If Russell Wilson's playing well, I think they're very cognizant of the difference between a 6th-round pick and a 4th-round pick. Those two things are huge, absolutely huge, and very different. And the Steelers are aware of that. I know that for a fact. All right, we have several questions from Brian Haynes. Here we go. Is there any way that we see Russ and Fields back next year? If not, which would you prefer? I'm going to wait. I'm not going to even project this yet. I want to see how this year plays out. Is there a way that you see both? Yes. Is it likely? No. Who would I prefer? I just want to watch 2024 before we talk about 2025. Next from Brian, can you realistically see a Fields package for the red zone, or is that a pipe dream? I can, but I think the Steelers are also cautious about, okay, when do they want to do that? When do they want to put that tape out there? Are they trying to wait until a game that might be really, really important? And they're like, okay, let's get the defense in a tizzy now because they don't know what to expect. They've never seen this before. I don't know. We'll see. Brian also said the team can't look to the future games, but the fans can. If the Steelers win Sunday, who do you think is the next team that beats the Steelers? That Browns game scares me on Thursday night. Absolutely does. Jameis Winston isn't great, but he's also capable. And we know that the traveling team is at a disadvantage. We also know that the Steelers playing teams after the Ravens, not typically good. That team scares me for sure. They have a good defense still. They're coming off their bye week. They should be rested and getting healthy. I think you talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, you talk about the Bengals, man, there could be a lot. There could be a lot of teams that beat this team. We'll see. Brian also asks, if our floor with Russ is 24 points per game and the defense gives up 19 points per game, we should theoretically win out, right? Realistically, though, who is the biggest challenge on the schedule left? I think there's a lot of challenges. Kind of just talked about that. Let's go to Dr. Anthony. He said, Washington was packing the box on nearly every play, which should have opened up the pass, yet it was hit or miss, either a deep bomb or nothing. What do the Steelers need to do better to take advantage of stacked boxes? Seems like Muth should be feasting, but he's not. There were occasions where there were receivers open. Russell wasn't seeing them. Russell was getting a lot of pressure, and I can't say that he handled that the best, but he's also going to be smart with the football. He's not going to take shots down the field. He's going to hold on to it. He's going to take sacks. That's just the way that it works. So I think that the Steelers just need to be prepared on. If I'm being honest, I also thought there was some post-buy rust early in the game, and I think they started to figure it out as they went along. I think they'll have a good plan for that. Next, Ant Smith. He said, good call on the over-under. He's talking about on the Steelers preview. With Jalen Warren over 45 yards this week, you were the only one who picked over. Warren had 66 yards. He had 40 yards the prior 2 weeks, and that's why I set the line at 45. And I also had a feeling that Najee wasn't going to go over 100 every single game this season, so he was going to have to be called on more. All right, let's go to Ann asked another one. If the season ended today, who's the team MVP? No one has been particularly consistent. Who would you say? If the season ended today, the team most valuable player. Oh, man. Today, that's the thing. Like, you would think Russell Wilson, but he's only played in 3 games. You're not going to say Justin Fields because he's not the quarterback anymore. In terms of defensively, I might say Cam Hayward, if I'm being honest. If you're talking about a guy that's put up the stats, he's also been there. He's the leader. That's who I might go with. Him or TJ, probably. All right, let's go with Maury Boogie. Hey, Jeff, I love Russell Wilson's ability to read the field and know where the advantages are for the offense, but he's not the long-term solution for the Steelers. How do we know if Justin Fields is learning from Russ? Will it translate to a long-term plan? We don't know, and we won't know. And the reason why we won't know is that if Fields isn't on the field, we don't know how he is actually learning from Russell Wilson. But you know what's nice? The Steelers do. The Steelers will be able to have seen Justin Fields. They saw enough of him this year so far, starting in 6 games, obviously. They're going to see him at practices. They're going to see him in meetings. They're going to see if he's really starting to soak that in. But I also think that the Steelers don't view this organization as a long-term investment. I think they view it as a very short-term investment. They want to win now. And if Russell Wilson plays the way he has all season for the rest of this year, and I could definitely see the Steelers giving him like a 2-year contract to keep him in Pittsburgh for another 2 years. He would be pushing 40 years old at that time, but at the same time, he still looks like he's in good shape, takes care of his body. I don't know. The Steelers want to win now. I know that for a fact. Let's go to Dr. Anthony again. He asked another question. Cam Hayward is him. He's playing at an all-pro level and absolutely dominating. On one play, he stiff-armed the offensive lineman with one hand and sacked the quarterback with the other. Unreal. Back when they re-signed him, did you imagine we'd see this level of play from him this year? I had to base everything that I said about Cam Hayward off of what we were being told in terms of his health. I have seen defensive linemen that are Cam Hayward's age still be very dominant in the trenches. He looks like he's just another one of those guys. He's old man strong, goes up against younger offensive linemen, and they haven't gone up against a guy like Cam Hayward before. And so it's a learning experience for sure. Cam's playing he's having a fantastic year. And I think that anyone that said like they wouldn't imagine him playing this way doesn't know how really hurt he was last year. I think that's important to note as well. All right, Doc M, what players do we not give the coaches enough credit for their development? Are we too critical in the players where expectations were higher due to where they were drafted? I think that the draft position is tough. You go back to like Terrell Edmonds. It wasn't his fault that the Steelers drafted him in the first round, yet he always had first round attached to attached to him and the expectations. But in terms of development, I have to be honest. Tom Earth is the quarterback coach. Did a great job with Justin Fields. He seems to have a good rapport with Russell Wilson. There's not as much work that needs to be done with Russ, but still, Russell is his own style of quarterback, and they've got to try and rein that in a way. Also, I think when you look at the offensive line, the fact that they have 2 starting rookies, so everyone wants to bash Pat Meyer to death. But when you look at Mason McCormick, a 4th rounder who's not playing fantastic out of this world, but he's not a liability. Zach Frazier, some are saying he could be a Pro Bowl caliber player if he stays healthy the rest of the year. I think that those coaches, like, you're not hearing their names. And everyone, like I said, loves to beat the crap out of Pat Meyer verbally. The rookies are showing otherwise, so we'll see. All right, Nick said, Big Hefe. 7-2, let's go. I think Minka has a separated shoulder or some other undisclosed injury. He's been carefully playing to me. He's just not himself. What do you think? And then he used the gift below because he thought he was going to win the free shirt. He didn't win it this week, but hopefully there's one next week. Well, Nick, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know if Minka's hurt. I don't know if maybe there is an injury that is worse. Now that you say that, it was a couple games ago. It was a home game. I'm wondering if it was either the Chargers game or maybe it was the Cowboys game where he actually left with a shoulder injury and he was able to come back. You might be right. You might be right. There might be something lingering there. It's just not serious enough to be on. It might not be serious enough to be on the injury report. If that makes sense. That's a good point. I'll have to go back and check that out. All right, let's go to Nathan Bolig. He says, how concerned should we be about Highsmith with the Ravens coming to town? I know Herbig should be back, but he sometimes struggles against the run. In your opinion, does Preston Smith see the field more to account for Derrick Henry? Yes. I think that having Highsmith out, that sucks. But when you have Preston Smith and Nick Herbig, I think that is a much better situation. And so you now can rotate players through a 3-man rotation. This is all assuming that Nick Herbig is healthy. But Nick Herbig, no, he does struggle against the run sometimes. Preston Smith, that's where he should go in and absolutely be a presence in terms of setting the edge, something that Alex Highsmith is very good at. Dr. Anthony asked another one. He said, I know he dropped the fake pass, but I felt bad for Pierre watching him answer questions after the game. Looked like he was going to cry. He felt terrible. Kudos to him for facing the media. Sometimes we need to remember that these guys are human beings too. Absolutely. And I've said it before, if you had press in your place of work, whatever it is, and you made a mistake, you wouldn't be happy with people putting cameras and video, microphones in front of your face and asking you what happened. But at the same time, that's what they're signing up for, and they get paid very, very well to do this job. So high pressure situation. All right, let's go to Steelers 419. He said, I personally think / hope Joey Porter Jr. just had a bad day. A wide receiver like Terry McLaurin is certainly capable of causing a bad day for any corner. However, I can't help but hear a voice in my head saying Artie Burns. What are your thoughts? I am not saying Artie Burns. Get out of here with that stuff. I think Joey Porter Jr. has to learn how the NFL game is officiated. If he didn't learn it last year, he still is, boy, it's taken him a while, but he's got to learn this is what they're going to call and this is what they're not. And unfortunately, the officiating in the league is so up and down, so inconsistent, it's really difficult to even predict. So I think ultimately, Joey Porter Jr. is going to be fine. I'm not going to say Artie Burns. I'm just going to say, let's see if this turns into a pattern. We know he's been handsy, but he hasn't had games like that a lot. 3 penalties and, just rough all around. So let's just wait and see. All right, let's finish this up with Steeler Fan 69. Always provides a humor at the end of some dad jokes. Hello, Jeff. Yesterday, my wife saw a cockroach in the kitchen. She sprayed everything down and cleaned thoroughly. Today, I'm putting the cockroach in the bathroom. Next, he said, I named my computer printer Bob Marley because it's always jamming. Very good. Very good stuff. Thank you all for chiming in. I do appreciate it. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up for you. I know on my podcast on Friday, we're going to have Behind Enemy Lines. The Caw podcast guys are going to join me again. For those who've been listening to my show for a while, they know who those guys are. We're going to have the All Bets Are Off segment. Make sure to check out all of our podcasts, not just those on YouTube, but all of them. Check us out on every platform by searching Steel Curtain Network. And remember, it's a grassroots movement. We need your help. Share the podcast, share the videos, share the articles. Get people to know about Steel Curtain Network, that we exist. They will love it. I guarantee it. But that does it. You know how we finish these out. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. Go Steelers.